Hello everyone, in today's video you're probably wondering what is on my screen, why do I have these, well, the festivals of this year all favorited. So what I've realized recently is that we must be soon hitting a stat cap for the characters. What I mean by that is, if they get any higher, that means every character that isn't a new character will immediately become obsolete. That means collab characters that have had buffs, stuff like that, they'll be obsolete only because of how high the stats are getting. So the stats are getting very high. At the end, I'll go over things they could do to sort of not mitigate it, but to make sure that, yeah, they can still keep inflating the stats, but they're going to have to do other things to sort of make everything else still playable. So obviously the first festival of the year was Traitor Melee, which is the New Year festival. Of course, you will have to bear in mind that I do not have any outfits for these characters, apart from free ones or ones from the past, so sometimes their stats may be a tiny bit higher than yours. Also, do bear in mind constellations as well. I am currently working on Constellation 4, so there may be a big difference to some people. Anyway, on to Traitor Melee stats. So when I talk about stats, I'm mostly going to talk about substats as main, like, combat class and all these attack stuff. It's very based on, like, your constellation. With these substats, they are somewhat, but not 100% in comparison to the main stats, which are attack, defense, and HP. Well, as you can see at the start of the year, we started with, high pierce rate, which is very good because he's a pierce-based character, decent resistance, regeneration rate, that's meh, very good crit chance. So I will also be talking about if a character is a DPS or a support, so that means we can sort of, we're not going to judge Festival Diam with the Ultimate One Escanor because they don't match. They're not in the same category. And then obviously his crit chance is very high. Crit damage is 200% because I am running attack crit damage, so it may take away 20%. So 200%, decent, good crit resistance, good crit defense, decent lifesteal, decent recovery rate. This was at the start of the year. I've only got this one, which everyone has. The affinity, the one you get from maxing as affinity, and then nothing here. So as you can see, that's like very good stats. Like I remember at the start of the year, we were like, oh my god, he's the most broken character in the game. He has the best stats in the game. Now I move on to the second character that released, which was Diane. Obviously, Diane is a support character. So her crit damage will be what her crit damage is. 191 crit damage, not too bad. Pierce rate, not bad. Resistance, actually pretty good. Her defense-related stats, because she is a defense-based character, is very good. Her attack-related stats, crit damage is not actually too bad, to be 100% honest. Bear in mind, Traitor Melee was only 9% higher, which is kind of insane. And her crit chance is also very low, but you don't expect her to crit. She is a tank character, as well as her passive does come into play when it comes to damage, so that's probably the reason why they don't want her crit chance being too high. But as you can see, once again, I think this is a pass one, another pass one, no sorry, this is a free one, pass, and then affinity. So obviously I'm still missing, Diane's probably my character who's got the most out of every character on this, out of this year. Diane's probably got the most work into her. Her gear is very good, somewhat. Well, her main HP and defense ones are, because that's what she mainly is used for. Anyway, on to next festival, which I believe was Bloody Ellie, the first light character in the game. Of course, she is also HP defense, so her crit damage is what her crit damage is. She does attack percent because this is my perfect Liz gear, and I wasn't going to change it to give her crit damage because it wasn't worth it. I only have the summer outfit for her, and of course the affinity as well, which is what you get from affinity, and now this is what you get. This is what the summer one was. But as you can see here, lower pierce rate, lower resistance than Diane, lower pierce rate than Melee, higher crit chance than Melee and Diane, higher crit damage than Melee. Of course, these two defensive stats are higher than Melee, but not as good as Diane. Recovery rate is actually very, very high, and her lifesteal is also very high. So something you have to realize about Liz is that obviously Liz gets her stat increase over time, so I guess they sort of bear that in mind when they came to making her, but still, as you can see, you can slowly see the stats inflating, and at the end I'll show you the difference between Traitor Melee and the Ultimate One. Then you can see like the whole different ballpark we're in now. The whole different. Anyway, on to the next character, which was Festival Estarossa. He was insane on his release. He's running attack crit dam, so minus 20% here. But this guy has like no outfits. I don't have any outfits for him. I didn't get the wolf one. He's got no weapons at all. And look at his crit damage. Crit chance, 115%. No added weapons. That's insane. Pierce rate is lower. Resistance is very low. I think they wanted to make him more squishy to ensure that he is killable because he was very broken on release. 115% crit chance, very good. 223% crit damage, so obviously I take 20% off because of his gear. Resistance and crit defense are very good for the DPS he is, but obviously his resistance is very low as well. Lifesteal's very high, but I guess that sort of makes sense. But Esterosa does lower enemy stats, so his crit chance and crit damage don't actually have to be that high for him to deal a lot, and you can run him HP defense. That is still broken as well. But you can really start to see the inflation of stats here. Melee started with 96%, now we're at 115% 6 months later. Or whatever he released, 7 months? 6-7 months, whatever. Next one was Merlin, which came out after the ReZero rerun. So we go to stats, we can immediately see higher, higher. Oh, obviously, I'm now comparing it to Esterosa. These two stats are higher. That was lower. Crit chance is not too bad, but obviously not as good as Esterosa. Crit damage. She's running attack crit damage to take to 20%, so she's less than 200% base, which is very bad. But her defense-related stats are higher than Diane's. Diane has high resistance, but overall, the crit resistance and crit defense, this is higher than Diane's. Her recovery rate's also very high. Her lifesteal is mediocre. But here you can start to see the slight, like, how insane it really is now. Like, she has this one character who's a DPS, or DPS slash support, has more crit resistance and more crit defense than Diane, who was built for as a tank. It does help that Diane does have the 40% damage reduction when she taunts, so maybe they did bear that in mind when designing her. And then we've got the ultimate one. You know, definitely not a 32% crit chance increase from the latest festival. He is running attack crit damage, so we take away 224% crit. That's still insane. This is like he does have low lifesteal, right? But you think, oh, you know, he's got low lifesteal, so that should like make up for it. It does not. It does not at all. He gives himself stats. Increase all stats, so that means lifesteal 4% with each passing turn up to 5 turns, and then the actual buff will then disappear. So you can get 20%, 23% lifesteal. Add 20% to all these stats, that's what you can get. His resistance is low, but it's nothing in comparison. So let me show you my escanor. You know, he's just got the free outfits, free stuff once again. This is from the recent event that's currently out, and no headgears because he currently only headgears. The only headgears are like obtainable with diamonds. And now let's compare trait melee. So 96%. The main stats I will be comparing will be crit resistance and crit damage. Sorry, crit chance, crit damage. These two defensive stats and these two stats up here. So pierce rate. Let's just unfavorite everybody else. Merlin was very good. Her stat her stats are good. Esterosa was good. He had high crit chance. If you were to compare, like, Liz, I didn't unfavorite Liz for some reason. Okay. Now let's compare it. Let's go to Escanor first. Sorry, Melee first. Actually, I also want to compare the CC as well. Both Escanor and Melee have very good sets on. They're not completely perfect, but they're still both very good sets. Both running attack crit down, by the way. You know, 4k CC difference. Escanor is 1 ult level higher. He has the same amount of headgears, has 1 less weapon, and has the same amount of... So he has Escanor has 1 more weapon than Melee, and 4k CC. That's a lot of CC. His stats, 117% pierce rate. Melee, 105. So he already has more pierce rate than a pierce rate based unit. Resistance, Melee has higher resistance, I do remember that. Regeneration rate, he's nearly 3 times Melee's regeneration rate. Crit chance, 32% more. 96. Yeah, he has a lot more. A lot more. 35% higher crit chance. Crit damage, 244. Melee's crit damage, 220. 20% more crit damage. Crit resistance, 88. More crit resistance than Melee by 6%. 93% crit defense. 4% more crit defense. 115. Still higher. Obviously, Melee's lifesteal will be higher because he is demons, and demons are... Well, demons will have higher lifesteal than humans. That's just how the game works. I would say probably the most uneven category is probably unknowns, but unknowns sometimes have higher lifesteal or lower lifesteal. But you can normally tell if a character has high lifesteal by their race. If they are either goddess, I'm not sure if fairies have high. I'm not sure, but I know demons and goddesses normally have very high lifesteal in comparison to humans and giants. Humans and giants don't normally have the highest lifesteal stats. But yeah, that's it. And I think that the way they could prevent this is either, you can keep increasing the character's stats for every new character, but then you also then have to think about, I don't know, we just come down here, look at all these characters, all these stats completely unplayable. Let's look at Amelia. Yeah, 66. She's not critting. She is not critting. She's going to be crit all the time because that's still not high enough. Her lifesteal is mediocre as well. Where's a good unit? Yeah, let's look at Grimmore, right? Grimmore, this version of Grimmore is busted, and now let's look at his stats. 11% crit chance. He's not been buffed at all. Like, you think, like, if you were to think about this, he is based off of defense. The only reason this guy can survive is when he has buffs. If he does not have buffs, he could not survive. His resistance is too low, so he's just going to get completely destroyed. His crit defense and crit resistance are too low. He just, every time he gets crit, it's going to be insane. The only way you could survive with Grimmore is either now, let's just talk about now in the game first, is if you get his ultimate off and you have his buffs. If not, you're going to die immediately. Because his stats are just horrible. I don't understand why they don't, buff him like they did with the Barnes. I think it was... If I go to the top, I should be able to find them. Or maybe I'm just completely blind. No, I'm just blind. Here it is. This Barn had stat buff. So all the Brawler Barns had a stat buff. Which is still, like, decently low, but they are definitely much higher than previously what they probably were, which was probably, like, 13 or 14%, with 150% crit damage. Obviously, these characters do have a lot of like free weapons or free headgears and stuff like that, so that will also inflate their stats as well. But they will have to try and find a way to get over the extreme like stat inflation, because like even like characters like King. Where's Festival King? Festival King came out this time last year. Where is he? He has really high crit chance. To be fair, he has very high crit chance. His resistance is horrible, and he has really good crit damage. But that's still not going to save him from nowadays where characters have like 100. So King's shield, if you have high pierce rate, you can just blitz the shield because it's not like a buff shield, it's like another effect shield. I don't actually know how it works, but it will still mince the shield if you have high pierce rate. So that's the reason why they need to try and find a way to balance the stats. If not, every team is just going to be instantly nuked. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.